This is Rohingya Vision News. Today is Sunday, 2nd March 2014. I'm Sarah Ahmed. Rise in Bokatri fuels massacre inside Myanmar. Under the pale moon of Jan 13, Zobata watched from her bamboo house as Momak, 15, her eldest child, was dragged from the kisak where he slept as a guardian for the family business. The men who abducted the boy struck him with the butt of a rifle until he fell to the dirt path, she said in an interview, gesturing with a sweep of her slender arms. Terrified, she fled into the rice fields. She assumes he is dead. 3 doors away, Zoya, dressed in a black abaya, showed the latch on her front door that she has armed men had broken as they stormed in and began beating her 14-year-old son Muhammad. She has not seen him since. The villagers' accounts back up a United Nations investigation which concluded that the attack on Dushuratan that night resulted in the death of at least 40 men, women and children, one of the worst instances of the violence against the country's long persecuted ethnic Rohingya Muslims. They were killed, the United Nations says, by local security forces and civilians of the Rakhine ethnic group. Many of the adherents of an extreme Buddhist ideology who were angered by the missing of a Rakhine policeman, according to the local government report. Burmese government, intent on international acceptance and investment, has steadfastly denied the killings occurred in the village, a collection of hamlets spread across the luxuriant rice fields close to Bangladesh and a 5-hour ferry ride up the languid Kaladan River from the state capital Akyab. The country's Human Rights Commission called the news unverifiable and unconfirmed. The United Nations findings, however, have become emblematic of the increasing violence against ethnic Rohingya, an estimated 1.3 million people who are denied citizenship under international law. The World Organization's report, presented to the government by the United Nations and the United States but not made public, documents the initial discovery of the massacre by 5 Muslim men who sneaked into the area after the attack. They found the several heads of at least 10 ethnic Rohingya bombing in a water tank. Some of those were children. One of the men said he was so rattled and concerned his eyes were playing tricks in the darkness that he put his hands in the tank to confirm through touch what he thought he saw. The killings are a test for Burmese government, which has done little to rein in the radical Buddhists, as if it pursues broad economic and political reforms of policies created by its former military leaders. The government has backed severe restrictions imposed by local authorities on Muslims' freedom of movement and deprivation of basic services in Arakan state, where most ethnic Rohingya live. The bloodletting is also a challenge with Western governments that have showed economic aid and goodwill on Burma in the hope of winning the fidelity of the resource-rich fledgling democracy. Those countries have mostly kept their concerns about the treatment of the ethnic Rohingya quiet in the hope, diplomats said, of the persuading the government to change its stance. On Friday, the crackdown on the ethnic minority continued when the government ordered Doctors Without Borders, the Rohingyas' main healthcare provider, to stop providing its services to them. One of the group's offenses, according to a government official, was the hiring of too many ethnic Rohingya. Since 2012, many Rohingya, a long-revealed group in Buddhist majority Burma, have been herded into miserable camps that are not allowed to live, even for work. Those still allowed to live in villages like Dushuratan are at the mercy of the local authorities, many of whom are inspired by an extreme Buddhist group whose monks have used the nation's new freedom to travel the countryside on motorbikes preaching hatred of Muslims. The latest carnage is a major embarrassment for the government, which has just assumed an important position as the annual chair of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In a sign of sensitivity, a visit to the village to assess the conflicting reports about the night of Jan 13 was cut short when local police officers bravely denied 2 New York Times reporters and a photographer. In response to a major 2012 spasm of one-sided violence in Akyab that included the firebombing of homes and left an estimated 300 dead, most of them Muslims, President Thein Sein said most Rohingya were in Burma illegally despite their having lived there in some cases for generations. His solutions: the United Nations should help deport them. Though Aung San Suu Kyi, the Nobel Peace Laureate and opposition leader, is rarely asked at home about discrimination against the Rohingya because it is broadly accepted in Myanmar. She has defended her lack of action to the foreign news media, saying that taking sides could further exacerbate tensions, an explanation that even her Western supporters believe is calculated to avoid offending voters ahead of the election next year. Though there have been attacks on other Muslim groups elsewhere in Burma in the past 2 years, the animosity toward Rohingya is especially combustible. Most of them were brought to the country from India to British colonial times, and many ethnic Burmese despised them as illegal intruders from what is now Bangladesh. About 140 displaced ethnic Rohingya, whose homes were destroyed in 2 major attacks in 2012, now live in more than 24 camps around Akyab, a dilapidated trading center largely dependent on assistance from international humanitarian groups, which are often harassed by the local authorities. The Rohingya remain trapped in the camps that foreign aid workers call the world's largest outdoor jails. The presidential spokesman Yuthod said in a telephone interview that plans last year for resettlement and rehabilitation of those in the camps were suspended because the Bengalis did not agree and threw stones, using a term common in Myanmar for the Rohingya, indicating the belief that they belong in Bangladesh. Of the 18 townships in Arakan state, 7 have already barred Muslims from using their clinics, foreign aid workers said. And a report released last week by Fortify Rights, a group that specializes in the Rohingya, chronicled a pattern of discrimination by officials that is intensifying as local authorities appear increasingly desperate to drive the group out. A dozen leaked documents dated from 1993 to 2008 show the government's efforts to slow the growth of the Rohingya population, including a requirement for the official permission to marry and limits in the number of the children the couples can have. The presidential spokesman Yuthod dismissed the findings as one of the sided view of the Bengali. As a way out for the bleak camps, nearly 80,000 Rohingya men, women and children last year took perilous sea journeys run by smugglers to Thailand and on the Malaysia or north to Bangladesh. Some drowned in capsized boats and many were detained in Thailand, said Chris Lua, the director of the Arakan program, a human rights group. The risk seems worth it to them, she said.